Turk's understanding of Roman Catholicism is unacceptable and lazy. Welcome back to Truth. This is Ben, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. We're going to talk about Frank Turek and his persistent inability to categorize and label Roman Catholicism for what it is, a different religion. Now, Frank Turek, if I could speak, Frank Turek seems to take issue or take non-issue with Rome and their theology and their dogmatic statements and all the extra things that they added through tradition and ceremony, sacerdotal priesthoods, Marian dogmas, papal infallibility. I mean, you could go on and on about the things they've added and or subtracted from Scripture over the years. But Frank Turek doesn't seem to mind, and he shows a perpetual pattern of not having an issue with Roman Catholicism in the sense that it almost seems like he's apathetic to it. The way that he encounters it and the way that he deals with it is truly unacceptable in my mind, in my eyes. It's so obvious, the differences and the importance and where they put a primary focus and where Christians or Protestants put a primary focus. They're two totally different areas. Our understanding of justification and grace and sin and the resurrection and how they have the Mass and they have the continued crucifixion of Jesus, right? Because, he says somewhere in the video we're going to watch here in a minute that, they present Christ, they crucify him again and again, which is not true. That's not what they say. That is incorrect. We do need to be fair. They wouldn't say that he's being crucified again and again. He's being represented, and he's taking part in the same crucifixion over and over again. But he is still logistically being taken from sitting down at the right hand of the Father and being placed back on the cross, and he's being re-crucified. They'll say it's the same crucifixion, but he's still taking part of it again and again and again for the sins of the people. And so we're going to watch this video, we're going to see what Frank says, and we're going to dissect it. And we're going to show you that Frank Turek's understanding of Roman Catholicism is really unacceptable for a man who is in his position, who has the audience that he does. Let's take a look. Okay, so here we are at the Cross-Examined YouTube page. And Dr. Turek put this up himself, or at least, the organization Cross-Examined did. That's from June 28th, 2021, so it's fairly recent. Just a few weeks old at this point. And this lady asked Dr. Turek a question. And to be fair, it's not really a fair question for her to ask. And the reason is because she asked a very personal question about her family member, her mother, who's a Roman Catholic, and her family is Protestant, and she has some unbelievers. And they're going through this extremely hard life crisis where her mother is dying, and she has this illness, and it'll be explained more. But she's asking an extremely personal question of Dr. Turek in a Q&A, which he could not possibly answer honestly and in depth, at least in the sense that he doesn't know her. He doesn't know the family. This lady may not be providing all the details, and it's hard to answer something so close to home in such a small amount of time. So in that sense, I understand. But that's not the problem with Dr. Turek's answer. The problem is the way that he critiques Roman Catholicism or doesn't. So let's get into it.
I have a sister who used to be a Christian and now is an atheist, and I have a father who's an atheist, and I have a mom who she's raised Catholic all her life, and she's now living in my house, and we're struggling because she's dying, and she won't come to church with us. She's insisting that we bring her a priest, but we can't find a priest that she will approve of, because it doesn't meet her standard, and she won't accept my husband, who's an ordained pastor, and she wants to take communion, but she won't accept it from us. We can't win. And
okay, so let's take a second right there. So communion is obviously a very large, it's a big issue, a big difference between us, right? So communion, it's something that is performed at the Mass, right, for the Roman Catholic. Now, communion is where this lady's mother, at least in her eyes, she believes that the literal body and blood of Christ have been transformed into both the wafer or the cracker and the wine or the juice. And she believes, since she's part of the Roman Catholic Church, that the only person who has the authority to administer the communion, right, the blood and the body, or right, the cracker and the wine or the juice, the only person who has the authority to do that is a sacerdotal priest, meaning somebody that has been authorized and imbued with the righteousness of Christ, right? They have a special authority in Roman Catholicism. So when we say communion as Protestants, where we do this in remembrance of Christ, right? It is an obedience thing. It's a sacrament, one of the two sacraments of Protestantism. But we do it because we do it in remembrance of Christ, remembrance of the sacrifice. Whereas the Roman Catholic believes that they are taking part literally in the crucifixion of Jesus, being represented over and over again in an unbloody manner, right? So it's not him being crucified again, but it is taking part in the same crucifixion. So her mother believes something wildly different than what Protestants believe, and that is something that you need to know, right? So it's not just that her mother, wants a priest because she's more comfortable with a Catholic priest because, that's where she grew up and her tradition, stuff like that. No, it's not that. It's totally different.
We can't seem to help explain to her how.
Why not ask this, Eileen?
We can't win. I mean, it's like, Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah,
we don't even know what to do.
Why not ask her this? Why do you think Jesus came, Mom? What would she say?
She said, well, he came to take away my sin.
Okay, and in the Catholic Mass, when they do the Eucharist,
Mm-hmm.
they believe they're sacrificing Jesus again.
Correct.
And just a thing to mention, it's not another sacrifice. It's not a second crucifixion, right? Like, we need to be fair, like when we're talking about people, because we want people to be fair about us. It is not another sacrifice or a second or third sacrifice. It is them taking part in the same sacrifice.
And they're
when you
consuming.
take the Eucharist,
Mhm.
the guy's brought up in the Catholic Church, okay?
Yes.
So
They are consuming his
Okay,
body and
that's
Mhm.
okay. That's not something I'm going to argue over. There's no reason to argue about it. But
That is such a, for somebody of Frank Turek's position, right, for having as many followers as he does, over 313,000 subscribers right now, very famous. I've met him in person. He's a very nice guy, but he's a prolific author, has many books. He's very well known in the apologetic world. He travels all over America and the world and preaches supposedly the good news of the gospel. And here he is saying that he's not going to argue with a central, fundamental difference between Roman Catholicism and Christianity. That's a problem. That is irresponsible and, quite frankly, seems unacceptable for a man who should know better, who says he grew up Catholic. He's going to say that his mother is still Catholic. She'll attend Mass and church on the same day. So he plays it off almost as if it's not an issue. As if there's no different, like, he just, Rome, the Roman Catholics, they just like a priest because of tradition, but it's basically the same thing. It is not the same thing. It is grossly different. And that it really is unacceptable for him to say that. And to have been, his soft position on Rome is what led to, or isn't what led to, that kind of an apathetic, confrontational nature with Rome is what led people back around the 20th century to start the ecumenical movement, right? This idea that Roman Catholics and Protestants really just need to reunite, right? It's just some small differences, right? They wear funny hats. We sometimes talk about Martin Luther, but that whole Protestant Reformation thing, that split back in the day, that wasn't that big a deal. I mean, it was just the 500th anniversary of Martin Luther in 2017, just a few years ago. But what he did, that Calvin guy, I mean, Zwingli and, the Inquisition and, burning people to stake and lies and, it was just a misunderstanding, right? The Protestant Reformation was just over a misunderstanding, right? Isn't that just shocking to hear? To hear somebody who's this intelligent, and he's very intelligent. I know he is. I have some of his books. I've met him in person. I've gone to the Southern Evangelical Seminary conferences. They have them every October, at least they used to. I haven't been there in a few years. But I've been to at least 2 of those. And I've listened, and he's very intelligent. And he should know better. But I feel like one of the problems is that he is wedded to one of the same things that William Lane Craig is. And it's that mere Christianity idea that let's just focus on just the basics. Right? Don't worry about the peripheral stuff, or don't worry about, secondary issues or anything like that. Let's just get people to a general understanding of Christianity, and that's close enough, right? And I think another part of it is that it's easier for him to just promote an easy believism in a way, and to just, there's so many things that he's so good on, but then, I think one of it is that it's easier to promote his mere Christianity, kind of that ideology, because he spends so much time on secular college campuses and speaking with, secular or materialistic or atheistic audiences, whatever they might consider themselves. And it's just easier for him to, maybe just be like, well, Rome, we got some differences, and these people, we have some differences, but, that doesn't really matter. Let's just talk about, let's talk about some reasons for why God exists, right? Why does science prove God exists? Or why does atheism fail, right? A lot of philosophical argumentation coming from Dr. Turk, and some of the philosophical argumentation is most excellent. I've enjoyed some of it. But I think his inability to call Rome what it is going to have consequences for him and for millions of people, because they're going to look to this man as an authority in this area. They're going to say, well, Frank Turek doesn't have a problem. Look how many followers he has. Look, he travels all over the world. He's a Christian. He must know what he's talking about. But he is fatally in error here. And I wish that he would truly take the time to sit down and look at the differences and realize the things that he said are wrong.
But if she understands that Jesus came to save her, and if she puts her trust in him, she confesses with her mouth that Jesus is Lord and believes in her heart that Jesus has been risen from the dead, she's saved.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Just ask her that.
But the problem is that she may affirm that, but her understanding of what that means is different from what our understanding of that means. For us to say, we believe in our heart that Jesus is Lord and God is raised from the dead, we will be saved, right? So with the mouth one confesses, with the heart. And so it comes from Romans 10:9 and 10. As Protestants, we would say Jesus died and his work is finished, right? The faith, once for all, delivered to the saints. Jesus died, was buried, rose again, and now sits down at the right hand of the Father and awaits his second coming. But that's not true for the Roman Catholic, because the Roman Catholic, the work of Christ is never finished. It will never be finished until the end of time, because he has to keep taking part in the same crucifixion scenario. He's taking part literally and physically in the crucifixion, and it's being perpetuated every single day, and it's been perpetuated, and it has been redone through the Mass billions of times in the past 1,500 years. And they believe you can lose your justification. They believe, okay, you may be justified, but you still have to go through purgatory, right? You might have some venial sins that aren't taken care of, so you're gonna have to burn those out of purgatory. They believe you can fall out of grace. You might do a mortal sin, right? You might have a mortal sin. It might knock you out of a state of grace, and you could die and go to hell and be separated forever. And so, in her mind, when Frank Turek quotes Romans 10:9, her understanding of that is going to be totally different than what my understanding would be, or your understanding as a Christian or a Protestant. They're two totally different things. And for him to just say that and to gloss over it, again, it just feels unacceptable.
Okay?
Yes.
Any kind of ritual she wants to go through, accommodate her. Okay? Because it's fine. You're not going to divide over that. Look, my mom's Catholic, right? She'll come to this church and she'll go to Catholic church the same day. Cover all the bases.
Right. I mean, I just can't get it.
I don't know why everybody finds that funny. Probably because most of the people in the audience just have the same understanding of Catholicism that Frank Turek has. That's not a funny statement. It's really not. And if his mother can go to a Protestant church and attend a Catholic Mass on the same day and not see any issues, or at least tension, between the two different beliefs, then there is a massive issue. And maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe Frank Turek sees his mother still claiming to be a Roman Catholic and doesn't want to admit or believe, or maybe has talked with her and she, raised him and told him there wasn't that many differences. Maybe he's part of the ecumenical movement. I don't know. But his theological error here is massive. It truly is. And for everybody in the audience to just laugh like this is a big joke that we're all in on is kind of saddening, to be honest, that they have the same understanding that he does in this area.
But she understands the gospel. She knows how she's saved.
Again, no, she doesn't, because obviously she doesn't hold to John 6. She obviously doesn't believe that you can't lose your faith. She believes that faith and grace and sacraments and things like that are doled out by the Roman Catholic Church exclusively, not a Protestant church. They believe that only a priest can give you these rights. And if you aren't presided over by a priest before you die, then you could possibly die in a state of venial sin or mortal sin. So no, she does not understand the gospel. She understands a very skewed version that the Roman Catholic Church has presented as being the gospel, but she doesn't understand the gospel.
It's not where you go to church that saves you.
Right.
This is why I get a lot of questions from people, because mostly I go to Protestant churches, and I'll get a question from someone who'll say, do you think Catholics can be saved? And I always say, look, I even think some Baptists can be saved.
Yeah. Yes.
Because it's not where you go to church, it's whether or not you've accepted the free gift of salvation.
Correct.
So you need to just, if she's accepted the free gift of salvation, Mom, when you're dying, you can have anything you want. You want me to bring you a Big Mac every whatever you want, Mom.
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
I would back off arguing with her and just see if she's saved. If she is, just give her whatever she wants. Give her gummy bears every meal. Okay.
Just see if she's saved. If she is, then just back off. Obviously, with this lady, the way she is affirming Dr. Turek's statements, she doesn't agree with him. So she obviously doesn't understand the gospel or salvation in any meaningful way. So I would be in fear for not only this lady's mother, but for this lady to have such a surface level understanding of Christianity in the first place is part of the problem on both her part and I think on his part. Because Dr. Turek, as brilliant as he may be, and he is very intelligent, when it comes to apologetics and philosophical arguments, he is very good. But his theological arguments and his theological understandings are very weak. Some of that's, I believe, because of his understanding and presuppositional ideas concerning Molinism. But in terms of his grasp and understanding of Catholicism, it's virtually non-existent, it seems.
No, here's the issue I have. Well,
all right.
She believes that if she cannot give confession, she's going to die in her sin. And what do we do when she won't approve of the person we're bringing her?
Well, if she won't.
She is going to die in her sin, by the way, both from a Protestant perspective and even from a Roman Catholic perspective. Now, she may die in a state of grace with venial sin, meaning she's going to have to have extra time in purgatory, however long that may be. It's unknown. Roman Catholic Church doesn't put a timestamp on it. So in either way, she's going to die her sins. From a Protestant or Christian perspective, she believes a false gospel, which means she's in a state of sin in a sense. And from the Roman Catholic side, she could be in a state of grace, but still be in a state of venial sinfulness. And she could obviously be worried about that. Or she could believe that she's committed a mortal sin, and she may believe that she's hellbound. So, yeah, there's reason to be concerned all the way around.
If you want to approve of the person you're bringing her, then she really must not believe that she's going to purgatory to burn off her sins that are unrepentant before she can go to heaven. Because if purgatory is true, and I don't see biblical support for it, but if it is, I'd grab any priest off the street and say, hello, just before I'm about to go.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay?
Great, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Well, there you have it. This woman was given a horrific answer that did not actually cover what she asked from a biblical or a Christian perspective. And Frank Turek's continued inability, like I said earlier, to critique and to condemn Roman Catholicism for what it is leading people astray. Perhaps even millions of people. I mean, this video already has 45,000, almost 46,000 views. And most of the people who watch that will think, oh, yep, nailed it. Dr. Frank Turek nailed it, hit it on the head, we're good to go. But he didn't nail it on the head. He swung and missed horrifically. Well, I hope this helps, guys. What do you think about this video? What do you think about Frank Turek's soft, almost non-existent stand on Roman Catholicism, at least from his public speaking? Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it. If you didn't like it, let me know in the comments down below. And subscribe to my channel for more stuff like this. Thanks, guys.